As you can see, the title of my talk today is How Can I Improve My Study Skills? Academic Learning Strategies for Success. In this seminar there are 4 parts. Part 1 is called Preparing to Study. Part 2 is called Obtaining Information. Part 3 is Examination Preparation. And Part 4 is Writing the Exam. There's actually a thesis that I'd like to propose to you for today's class. And that thesis is that academic learning is a coachable skill. That is, you can develop strategies to help you to gather knowledge and learn and remember that information so that you can use it when you need to. Now, what is your need? Your immediate need, I think, is to sit exams. But in education, it should be more than that. You're supposed to learn to enrich your everyday life. For example, let's say you're an English student. 2 years from now, you're at a party. If somebody says, oh, you were an English student, do you know anything about Canadian poetry? Is it any good? Well, I hope you could rattle off all kinds of interesting things about Canadian poets, even though you hadn't even thought about it in 2 years. This is the bishop's Latin motto. Recti cultus pectora laborant. Right learning strengthens the spirit. Really, that's what education is all about. It's learning for life. So, you're preparing to study. How do you set up? Let me share 2 quotations with you. The first one comes from a biochemist by the name of Albert Cert Georgi, who lived from 1893 to 1986. And he wrote, "A discovery is said to be an accident meeting a prepared mind." The other quotation from Thomas Edison, the inventor, "Genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration." So what's the message? The message is that in both of these cases, the most important thing for originality is actually hard work. To prepare your mind, you have to put things in it. That takes time and effort. If you're going to perspire, well, by definition, you don't perspire unless you've been putting lots of effort. Now, I don't know you. I really want to see you sweating your exams, but the point is, effort is needed. If I can be permitted the luxury of a sports cliche, you've got to give 110%. How do you do that? In psychology, there's a debate between talent and practice. High levels of skill, how do they occur? Is it talent? Is it practice? Is it a combination? Well, studies of people at the highest levels of performance, and I'm thinking of actors, I'm thinking of musicians, I'm thinking of athletes. Turns out they've devoted hundreds of hours to practice. Yeah, they may have some talent, but 99% perspiration. Now, think of Tiger Woods. I don't know if he's your ideal model for life, but in terms of performance, whatever that may mean, when it comes to putting the ball in the hole, I hope he actually didn't put the ball in there. Anyway, although knowing Tiger, anyway. Tiger Woods is a very good golfer. In fact, he's playing in the Australian Open right now. He's back. Or is he back? Well, he led after the first round with a 65. And today at the halfway point, he's got a 1-stroke lead. He's not been in that position for a long time. Maybe he's back. But he's a fantastic putter. How did he do that? Well, when Tiger Woods putts, he takes the ball, he moves at a certain position away from the hole, and he does that 100 times. Puts the ball to the hole. Not only that, he sets himself a goal. I'm not actually sure how many it is. It might even be 100. To do 100, or however number it is, consecutive putts into the hole. If he doesn't get it, he starts back over again. So let's say he said, I've got to do 50 consecutive putts. He gets to 48, he misses one. Okay, back to square one. Over and over. That's the way that guy practices. So, how much time should you devote to your study? Well, If you go with the sports notion, it should be 26.4 hours a day, which I don't think you're going to do. So here's some practical advice. It's been suggested that it's 2 hours out to 1 hour in. If you're taking 5 courses, you're spending 15 hours in the classroom. That means you spend 30 hours studying. That's 45 hours altogether. I don't know what you think about that, but actually it's just pretty well a full-time job, right? The typical 40-hour week, nothing special. The typical 40-hour week, nothing special, means you've got an average job and you're satisfactory. I suggest to you that academic learning is not an average job. It's harder than the average job. You're going to have to do more than 45 hours a week. You're going to have to spend more than 30 hours a week studying. In fact, if you look around and you talk to the students who are the top students at Bishop's, I bet you that they are studying more, way more, than 30 hours a week outside the classroom. So here's a couple of tips. Jessica broadcast my talk as consisting of tips, actually. You call them cool tips. I don't know how cool they are. I'm going to call them principled tips because they're actually research-based. In other words, if I had to, I could point to papers in the literature that support the kinds of things that I'm saying. So here's one. Take the time that you need. What time do you need? Start with the base of the 30 if you want satisfactory performance. But some of you may want to excel. You may want to get 90. You're going to have to go way over in terms of time. Others might just want to pass. Actually, as far as I'm concerned, that's fine. If there's a student that says, I need 51 and pass all my courses to get a degree because I just want to get a degree and get out, I don't have any problem with that. We're not all wizards. You need to make a plan. You need a timetable. You need a book. You need a planner. Daily, hourly, weekly. It's all going to be filled in. First, you pencil in your sleep time. 8 hours a night, roughly. Got to have it. Got to be relaxed. Pencil in some eating time. 3 squares a day is the standard according to healthy eating habits. Other commitments. Some of you may have part-time jobs, full-time jobs, heaven forbid. Full-time job, full-time student. Oof, looks like 100 hours a week. Some students do that. Part-time jobs. Some of you may have family commitments. They've got to be done. You've got to pencil that in. And then you put in your study time around it. Note what I haven't put in yet.
Social time.
Exactly. Where's your leisure time? Well, actually, you may think this isn't completely and totally anal, but you should actually schedule your leisure time. You should write it in as well, because you need it, but not at the expense of the study time, you see. It shouldn't be the study comes after you've had your fun. The fun comes last, but you should have some fun. One of the benefits of setting timetables is that you set goals. You write it out, you've got a goal. When people have a goal to strive for, it motivates them. If you do this systematically, you may even find yourself doing some funny things. At the end of the day, you look over your schedule, you say, hey, I've done all these things, tick, 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 tick. And then you suddenly say, whoa, I actually studied 6 hours a day, not 5. So you write in extra hour of study and then you tick it. I actually know people, one person, who, when he keeps a diary, he finds himself surreptitiously going back at the end of the day and writing in extra things and then ticking them off with a flourish, feeling really good. I wonder who that is. Quantity and quality. So far I've talked about quantity. It's all about quantity. No, it's not. It's quality. Here's a question. Have you ever spent a considerable amount of time studying for an exam, significant amount of time, writing it, and then being disappointed? Well, let's assume the exam was fair. I mean, the exam could have been terrible, unfair, okay. But let's assume the exam was fair. Well, how can it be? What I suggest is that you were not studying properly, you were not studying efficiently. You've got to study in an appropriate and efficient manner. Otherwise, it's just wasted time. How do you do this? Well, you've got to set up a learning environment. Ideal study conditions. What are they? It has to be distraction-free. Distraction-free means no interruptions. What does that mean? You've got to be in a quiet place. in a room, could be in the library, should be alone. I will suggest below there's a place for a study partner, we'll come back to that, but we'll say you're going to be alone. No interruptions, i.e. TV off, cell phone off, computer, internet off. You need uninterrupted study time. You can't attend to more than two things at once. As the old saying goes, psychological research has shown. You can't attend properly to more than one thing at once. And if there's a number of things, you might say, hey, but I'm an attention switcher. All around. Well, maybe, but it means none of them get properly attended to, particularly the study. Now, this is not a new problem. There was a study in 1929 that showed that when students were studying, 40% of their time was taken up with distractions. That was in 1929. Their distraction consisted of incessant yapping to each other instead of, actually studying. Today, there are even more potential distractions. Actually, I feel sorry for you folks. Life is really hard, and I don't mean this cynically. I mean, it's much harder for you than it was for me. I studied in the 1960s at university. I had no telephone, I had no cell phone, no computer. There would be a radio, but it wasn't on, and my TV wasn't anywhere near where I was. I was living in a dump somewhere near a university, running water, and that was just about it. I had no distractions. The only distractions were my daydreams, and of course they did interfere. You've got daydreams, you've got cell phones, you've got all kinds of stuff, but you can control it. You've got to cut it out. You've got to say no. You've got to turn it off. And you've got to tell your friends, if I'm not there, I'm not there. There's one caveat to the distraction-free environment. What about music? Some people say they like to study with music playing. Actually, trial and error is the order of the day here. You might actually find that's helpful. Here's a guideline. Some people are extroverts, some people are introverts. Extroverts, by definition, are people who seek stimulation. That's why they're always running around taking risks. Introverts, by definition, are people who are over-aroused already. They want to be quiet, they want to be silent, they want to be by themselves. Guess what? Maybe extroverts need the arousal of music. Introverts, no. It just interferes. So a guideline to think about, you have to consider it in your own case. If you're an extroverted type, maybe music will help you to get into the optimal state of arousal to study. If you're an introvert, probably it won't. Continuing with the environment and getting to encoding specificity, what should your environment be like? This is good. Nice hard desk, clear. If you're sitting in the middle there, if I may use you as an example, it's a perfect situation. Clean desk, good hard chair, got your notes in front of you, nice light over your head, you're all set. That's what it should be like. Here's what it should not be like. Lounging back in an easy chair, or even worse, lying in your bed with your book propped in your chest, with your cell phone open, ping ping, with House on the television, and goodness knows what else. No. This concept of encoding specificity in psychology is sometimes called context-related learning. Here's the idea. You perform as you practice. The exam conditions require a desk, a hard chair, good light, silence. So, how should you study? Same way. The theory is that when you're studying, part of the context around you gets automatically encoded into memory. So if you put yourself back in that context, it's going to be a trigger to memory. You may think that sounds pretty far-fetched, and I'm not going to claim that that's going to magically turn you into a great student. But it's actually been shown in studies that if you switch the environment, make it totally different, it's less good than reinstating the environment. If you're actually in the same classroom as you took your classes, get the same seat. Because the angle at which you are might just cause associations to occur that you can get the material back.